planning to deceive John too, are you? Sarah, my son's wife, laughs with glee. John won't be back from his overseas assignment for another 6 months. Until then, I'll just dodge any questions over the computer screen. Sarah grins maliciously. I tremble with anger. Take good care of Sarah while I'm away. Help her out if she needs anything. I promised my son John I'd do my best to support her. And this is how she repays me? Well, fine. Enjoy your little game while you can. I smirk to myself. I'm Emily, a 66-year-old housewife. I married Robert, a former colleague, and we lived happily as a family of 3 with our son, without any mother-in-law issues. Sarah, my son's wife, seems quiet and reserved, a good match for my serious and kind son. Shortly after their marriage, she had a scooter accident and was left with a lingering injury, so she became a housewife. Thankfully, John works for a big company, so his salary alone is enough for them. A few years after Sarah's accident, John was assigned overseas for 5 years, with a promotion promised upon his return. At the airport, John told me, Mom, please take care of Sarah while I'm away. Help her out if she needs anything. Don't worry, I've got this. I assured him, and John smiled with relief. A few months after John went overseas, Sarah called me in a barely audible voice. Emily, I'm sorry, but could you transfer some living expenses? What John sends isn't enough. Why not talk to John? It's hard to ask him. Just my orthopedic clinic costs $300 a month. Really? How much do you need in total? I'd be happy with $1,000 a month. All right, I'll transfer it on the 20th of each month. We have savings and are still working, so my husband and I can each contribute $500. I added my $500 to the money from my husband and transferred it to Sarah's account. At first, Sarah was polite, even calling to thank me, but she gradually became more brazen. Within 6 months, she even started calling to remind me the day before the transfer. Emily, you haven't forgotten, right? Tomorrow. Please keep your promise. For the record, I've always transferred the money on time. Despite her nagging, my husband just said, She's probably anxious. Despite being bothered by reminder phone calls, while I was preparing dinner, Sarah suddenly showed up. She looked desperate, so I stopped cooking, led her to the living room, and listened. Sarah covered her face and burst into tears. What happened? I fell for a scam. Sarah confesses, her face a mess of tears. I started learning about computers, and I got a message saying it was infected with a virus. Panicked, I transferred a large sum of money. What? That's a scam, Sarah sobs. What should I do? I even took out a loan. How much did you borrow? $200,000. $200,000? I'm almost knocked off my feet. The staggering amount makes me want to cry too. Even you can't come up with that kind of money right away, can you? No, it's okay. I'll transfer it to your account. I'm really sorry. I don't know how to thank you. It's fine. Just make sure to tell John. I will. Sarah apologizes repeatedly and leaves. I glance at the floor and notice something Sarah left behind. I'll return it next time I see her and store it in a drawer. When my husband comes home, he looks puzzled. That's a lot of money. Where did she even borrow it from? I'll check with Sarah. I send a message and wait for days, but no reply comes. Growing anxious, I ask my husband to check on Sarah. When he mentions he'll be near Sarah's apartment the next day, "You're off work tomorrow, right? Let's pay her an unexpected visit." My husband nods, albeit reluctantly. The next day, we drive to the rundown apartment building where Sarah supposedly lives. There's no nameplate, so we have no idea which apartment is Sarah's. Just then, a resident comes out and we ask him, "Excuse me, do you know which apartment Sarah lives in?" "Sarah's place? Over there." A pudgy man with a scruffy beard points. My husband and I are stunned. He's pointing at a brand new high-rise apartment building. "Last month, she moved from the apartment she shared with her husband to that high-rise. She said they bought it with a large sum of money in their joint savings." We're at a loss for words. We say goodbye to the man and return to our car, still in disbelief. While waiting at a traffic light, a flashy woman with a designer bag emerges from a building. "Hey, isn't that..." "Yeah, Sarah." We slowly follow her car as she crosses the park and enters the high-rise. "The resident was right. What should we do? Visit her now?" "Let's come back later. I want to investigate something. Please contact John." We head home. 2 weeks later, I visit Sarah's high-rise. Sarah answers the intercom, clearly annoyed. "Emily, it's only 8 a.m. It's rude to show up unannounced." "I need to talk. Let me in." "I'd rather you leave." "Should we talk here then? I can make a scene about how you bought this apartment with money you scammed from your in-laws." Reluctantly, Sarah unlocks the door. We pass through a spacious hall that looks like a luxury hotel and take a glass elevator to the 28th floor. Sarah greets me at the door, wearing a silk pajama set and a robe. She yawns and pushes her hair back, clearly annoyed. "You found the place." "I'm coming in." "Wait." Ignoring Sarah's protest, I walk in. The enormous living room has just a 2-seater sofa and a table. 2 half-empty glasses sit on the table. Entertaining this early? Yes, they just left." Sarah looks more nervous than I do. A muffled voice comes from a closet in the hallway, and the door opens. A young man with a cute face appears. Sarah panics and rushes over to him. "Hey, David, why are you coming out?"
"Sarah, is that true? You're not single?"
With teary eyes, David presses Sarah, who scratches her head with a half-smile. Well, I thought you'd be turned off if you knew I was married. Remember how you complimented me at the cafe?" His expression changes, becoming almost malicious.
"You were dressed to the nines, carrying designer bags. I thought an older, wealthy woman would fall for cheesy pickup lines. I mistook you for a lonely single woman. I usually avoid married women."
David heads to the bathroom. Soon, he changes from matching pajamas with Sarah into a casual jacket and heads for the door. He puts on branded sneakers from the shoe rack and finally looks back at Sarah.
"So, goodbye. I'll come back for my stuff later."
"What? You're breaking up with me? Wait." Sarah chases after David and leaves the room. About 20 minutes later, a red-eyed Sarah returns. She immediately starts yelling at me. Emily, David broke up with me. What are you going to do about it? It's your own fault. I sigh and respond with a look of disbelief. Oh, I offered to help you with your debt because I thought you were in trouble. I never thought you'd use it to buy an apartment to live with another man. Don't you feel guilty? I couldn't say no when such a cute guy wanted to live with me. Sarah shrugs as if it's the most natural thing in the world. Sarah looks pitiful, spiraling out of control. I married a boring workaholic because he's from a wealthy family and works for a big corporation. I was looking forward to shopping with his salary, but John manages all the finances, and I only get $1,000 for myself. It's ridiculous. So you took money from us to live with your lover? He's cute, unlike my husband. My husband is just an ATM. He should work hard and support me. I was trembling with anger. John is working hard overseas, sending money so Sarah can live comfortably. It's unforgivable. So, what are you going to do? Tell John? Sarah leaned against the wall, arms crossed, and smirked. Will John yell at me over a video call? I'll deny living with someone else, of course. He'll be torn about who to believe. You plan to keep deceiving John? You're a bad listener. Sarah chuckled. He won't be back for another 6 months. I can dodge any questions over the computer screen. I need to get my living expenses. Sarah grinned maliciously. Besides, you guys can afford it. You can spare a little. You can't take money with you when you die. Just then, the closet door opened. John appeared in front of a stunned Sarah. John?
Long time no see, Sarah.
John was in a suit and Sarah was frozen.
I used the same trick as your boyfriend, but you didn't notice.
I laughed at Sarah's dumbfounded expression. Why are you here? You said you wouldn't be back for a while.
I intended to, but after hearing various things from my dad, I took emergency leave and came back.
John had a stern look I'd never seen before. He slowly walked into the lavish living room, looked around, and said sarcastically,
Wow, it's like a hotel in here. Even the wallpaper looks expensive. Right, Sarah?
Yes?
How much did it cost?
$490,000?
That's almost double the cost of our apartment. You bought it with money you scammed from my mom and our savings, just to live with a younger man. Is that right?
Yes. Sarah was sweating, even though it was winter. She must have been playing the role of a faithful wife in front of John until now. Even the audacious Sarah seemed small in front of John's icy stare. John exuded quiet anger as he spoke to Sarah in a low voice.
While I was working hard overseas, my wife was taking money from my parents and spending it like water. I couldn't believe it when I heard it from my dad, but listening from inside the closet, I understood. I've been deceived by you, Sarah.
John looked down at Sarah and continued in a cold voice.
Before I left for France, I asked my mom to look after you if anything happened. I never thought I'd be betrayed like this.
I feel the same. I thought I was treating you pretty well, but it seems it didn't get through. John looked at me.
I'm sorry, Mom.
You don't have to apologize. She's the one who will take all the responsibility, I said, and John handed Sarah the divorce papers.
Here, mail it after you fill it out.
Sarah was caught off guard. She shrieked. What the hell? I'm not getting a divorce.
Please do it as soon as possible. We'll handle the rest through lawyers.
Don't decide this on your own. I'm a housewife. I can't live without someone giving me money. I almost burst out laughing. She exploited people's kindness and even lied to get money.
Let's go, Mom.
All right, Sarah, we'll be in touch. I don't want anything more to do with you. As long as John gives me money, that's all that matters.
We closed the door in front of Sarah's nose and left the apartment.
A few days later, after finishing work, I checked my phone and saw 100 missed calls from Sarah. I reluctantly called her back, and she picked up after one ring. Emily, why are you selling the high-rise apartment?
I pulled the phone away from my ear because of her shrill voice. Because it's in my name.
What? Don't make decisions on your own.
She should have been told when she moved in. She probably wasn't listening. It sold for almost the same amount you paid for it since it's new and you haven't lived there for long. I found a buyer quickly, so that's a relief.
Sarah was speechless on the other end.
So you need to leave within 2 weeks. If you stay, the next tenant can't move in. Also, you'll soon receive a document calculating the living expenses and medical fees I've been giving you. Add that to the compensation for cheating on John and pay it all. Thank you.
I can't possibly pay all that.
Her voice sounded like a scream, but I hung up without caring. It's a staggering amount for Sarah, who's currently unemployed, but she made her bed and now she has to lie in it. She'll have to find a way to pay up. Sarah called her lawyer and threw a fit, but 2 weeks later, she gave up and moved out of the high-rise apartment. After that, the new owner moved in, and I breathed a sigh of relief when the sale money was transferred to my husband's bank account. Sarah ended up paying $100,000 after being threatened with a lawsuit. Given that Sarah had been living off the money she conned from us for medical bills, compensation to John, and of course, her lifestyle and gifts to her young lover, she had no savings left. We made her promise in writing, in the presence of a lawyer, to make monthly payments. Sarah, who had been reluctant to work, had no choice but to find a job after the divorce. However, she couldn't stick with any job because she lacked motivation. She finally got hired at her 10th attempt at a supermarket. John returned to France once the divorce was finalized. He was given an important position and is busy working. We started having video calls more frequently to catch up on each other's lives. What a kind-hearted son, I thought. In France, he seems to be enjoying his work with his colleagues. The photos he sent conveyed a friendly work atmosphere, and my husband and I were relieved. I want to work hard while I can, save up, and enjoy a comfortable retirement. John is independent, and my husband and I are getting along just fine. I hope these simple but happy days continue forever.